Hello guys and welcome to Board Now's Cult Television Reviews, and on this video I will be returning to Euphoria, the HBO new teen drama, and it's the third episode of the first season and it's called Made You Look. I say the first season because it has been recommissioned for a season 2. So yeah, there will be more after this first season, but this is episode 3 of 8, and another interesting episode. I'm in a bit of a funny place with this. I think there are certain sort of plots and moments where it sort of feels a bit like it's kind of turning its wheels, and a bit like it's in danger of getting a bit repetitive, and as I've said in other videos, just going in a bit too hard, and maybe losing the sense of the characters a little bit. I think there's the danger of that. I'm not saying we're at that stage yet, but it does seem to, in some cases getting on for that way. But on the other hand, there's a lot of good stuff as well. And there's a real powerful ending actually to this episode where it really pulls it back around. So certainly some great stuff that is keeping me watching. But probably I would say this is the weakest episode of the 3 so far. But then depending on what it's setting up, I might feel differently. I would say also I think this episode actually has a slightly different tone to some of the others, certainly in places. I mean, I think some of the stuff with Rule kind of feels similar to what we've had in the first 2, but the stuff with Cat and some of the other stuff, and even with Rule actually, it does feel slightly more on the satirical, sort of cheeky side, and a lot of kind of talking to the camera, and kind of tongue-in-cheek, very dark humour. Still is very black, but there probably is a little more humour in this episode, a bit more of this absurd sort of humour, and I think that's because it's digging more into kind of internet culture and kind of sex on the internet, which is just insane. But we'll get into it because there's sort of two, I guess the two takeaways from this episode is, first of all, I think the growing confidence of Kat sexually and the contrast and how she's really putting herself out there, and how obviously her video has just blown up online and now she's becoming this regular cam girl and performer for like these pervy guys online. And there's almost a contrast with her and Maddie, because obviously if you think about them in the group, Maddie is kind of the leader of the group. She's kind of seen as the kind of quote unquote sort of it girl. And she's, in the past has been the really confident sexual one and kind of more the leader, but we sort of see hints and that's changing in this episode. And the other big thing is Rule, and it gets more into her addiction and sort of how that affects those around her. But I will start with Kat because we start with this voiceover. Of course, Rule narrates the whole thing. And so I think she's telling this backstory about Kat when she was much younger and how she had this relationship with this boy at school. Really sweet guy who just accepted her for who she was. Held hands with her, all that sort of stuff. So like he was the only guy kind of in her life who sort of supported her and was sort of happy to be with her. But we get this story about her going on holiday with her family to like Sandals, Jamaica. And I always think of the US Office when I hear Sandals to Jamaica. It's just unavoidable, avoidable. But yeah, so they're on this holiday, and the kind of story is that Kat, drinks so much on this holiday, then she just comes back completely, well, much larger, much fatter than when she left, and it really surprises everyone. And again, it's getting into kind of this rich family sort of culture, sort of neglecting and not paying any attention to their children, because obviously at this age, Kat she's very young still, so she's being exposed to all this like alcohol and not being supervised. But it sort of sets you up for one thing, and then sort of pulls the rug out from under you, because it sort of plays it as then the guy at school, I think his name was Daniel, is still doesn't care about her suddenly being much bigger, and is supportive and kind of likes her anyway. But then eventually he does break up with her, and he does it for another girl. Another girl sort of writes the note. And so it kind of, again, has this very cynical sort of thing where it did bother him suddenly her being overweight and less attractive, if you like. And but he couldn't face telling her to her face. So yeah, that's sort of more background to Kat's past. And then it goes into this really satirical, trippy sort of area where she then starts writing all this fan fiction online, and she gets all this popularity on Tumblr because she writes these really raunchy sort of fan fictions, and they're about One Direction, and there's this sort of really priceless animation to demonstrate this. So we get her sort of writing like or producing gay fan fiction about One Direction online, which is really funny. But that's kind of a comparison to where she is now, because the point the scene is making is that Kat becomes popular online because of this fan fiction which everyone loves, and yet she's isolated, she's an outcast, she's depressed at school. And it's sort of this irony about how you can be someone completely different online. It's not like being a regular celebrity, if you like, where people would know you, and if you're a celebrity on TV, then you would probably be a celebrity out in public, in a sense, if people recognised you. But yeah, this is totally different online, and it kind of is, as I said, a comparison to what's happening now with her, because suddenly Kat, because of this video from the party, has taken off and is becoming popular online. And she becomes a cam girl. We sort of see that in this episode, where she performs these really sort of out there videos for guys, and she wears this mask and does these sort of dances. And there's this one really, I have to say, it's gross. It's actually very funny, and it's sort of scary how funny it is. But this one interaction she has with a guy, an older guy online on one of these videos, and he basically just whips his dick out. I mean, there's a lot of dick in this episode, which is uncomfortable, but I have to get into that. But yeah, he whips his dick out, and he basically is. She's obviously saying, "Oh, it's so big, it's a and he's like, "Don't lie to me," sort of thing, and he's whipping it out, and he's kind of getting turned on then by getting her to insult the size of his penis and really lay into him, and he's getting turned on and calling her this sort of name, and yeah, it's this really absurdist sort of scene, which is funny but really disturbing at the same time. So it's really getting into this online culture and just how deep and bizarre it runs. And eventually, Kat starts realizing she can profit from this because, of course, on these campsites they have, you can sponsor these girls to do different things, and you can obviously off bid on them and bid money, and that's what eventually happens. And he sends however much money is, it's a fair amount because he's a rich sort of business guy, and he sends like virtual money to her account, if you like, and then she finds a way of collecting it from like this sort of shop later, and it's from like the kid who's been dealing drugs in the local town. But yeah, so it's getting into the whole camgirl culture and this scary sort of, first of all, just how gross a lot of this is, but also the fact that, yeah, these girls can actually make money off it, and a lot of money, and that's sort of scary in itself. But so yeah, I mean, if you want to see a bit more of a different twist on this, I mean, it gets into the culture, but it's also like a horror film, a thriller, really well done. A film called Cam, which is on Netflix, which I highly recommend, with Madeline Brewer. That's a really good film. Really like that. But yeah, obviously this is getting into the sort of cam girl culture as well with Kat, and I think we do see her sexuality grow and her confidence grow as a result of this. And yeah, so we sort of see her go shopping with Maddie in a later scene, and we see how the roles have been slightly reversed. We see, Maddie's starting to confide in her a bit more and ask her advice, and she shares something about Nate with her, and I'll mention that in a minute. Well, I'll mention it now. It's basically then Nate has been, sending pictures of his penis to Jules essentially, and so Maddie has found these pictures on his phone, and yeah, freaks out and leaves. So I mean, she's still seeing Nate, but that obviously freaks her out. So that's kind of what she confides in Kat with when they're on this shopping trip. But yeah, we do see how the dynamics have sort of changed, and it is Kat now with more of the power. And Kat starts dressing more sexually. She goes to this sort of quite high-end store, and she fantasizes about like jumping on this guy in the dressing room and having sex with him, which doesn't happen, but she fantasizes about it. And she walks through school all sort of sexualized, and yeah, this particular rap song, which you probably heard in a lot of TV or films, pops up, and some of that stuff is a bit, maybe a little heavy-handed, a bit sort of cliche, but it's obviously showing the difference now between Kat and at the start of the show, and just how troubling that sort of is. And there is this guy at school who we've seen in a previous episode who's a lot more sensitive, and it's just seemed to be generally kind of nice to her, and has taken an interest in her. So it'll be interesting to see where that sort of goes. But yeah, there is problems with Jules and with Rue in this episode. So Jules has started this basically texting back and forth with Nate without realising who it is, because they obviously go to the same school. And Nate, I mean, this is an interesting touch because he's actually entered this like gay chat room. And I think it was suggested in the last episode that he was either gay or he was bi, and I think chances are he's sort of hiding his gay side under this masculine sort of front. But yeah, the stuff with him and with Tyler, and actually that's something I just picked up on because he actually pretends his name is Tyler in the conversations with Jules. But so that they're flirting back and forth, and yeah, Nate actually sends Jules a picture of his penis and is manipulating the whole thing. But yeah, it's just interesting that he met her on a gay chat room sort of thing. And this sort of causes friction between Jules and Rhea because obviously Rhea, is starting to get jealous, but she tries to play it sort of cool. But yeah, there is a scene where she seems generally concerned about Jules because Jules is really getting caught up in all this with Nate, with obviously he's using a false identity. And is seems prepared to meet him just in a random location, isolated, and obviously Rhea. So I think Rhea is generally concerned about this, but it sort of causes tension in their relationship. And yeah, I think again it's this very cynical, kind of disturbing culture. Just the fact that yeah, Jules sort of feels like she has to have this other thing with this guy. She has to live this quite dangerous, sexualized life. The fact that she has this new thing with Rule and they have this bond isn't quite enough for her, but I think it sort of shows how sort of messed up she is. But, I mean, they do sort of make up and they bond again. But then Rule sort of kisses her and it's like this moment, and it's this awkward moment which I didn't quite get actually, because I thought, I mean maybe this was me misreading it, but I sort of thought they were kind of going out and that was a thing, but maybe it was meant to be more of a friendship. So I don't know if that's the thing where Rule has read it as like a relationship more than a friendship, because definitely when she kisses Jules in this episode, it is played as sort of awkward, and I mean that might partly explain why Jules sees nothing wrong with this thing online with Nate sort of thing. So yeah, that sort of leads to the end of the episode because obviously Rule is embarrassed, and throughout the episode it sort of deals with her drug addiction and obviously how she had a big moment where she essentially fell back into it last episode. And she's still going to the rehab meetings, and she's supposedly been sober for 2 weeks, but that's basically a lie, and she's kind of lying to herself. But she's putting a brave face on it by going to the meetings, and she's kind of telling people, it's hard, but I've been like sober for 2 weeks, and it is basically a lie. It's a front. Um, and there's actually a scene outside the rehab centre, or the meeting sort of place, and this guy sort of you know, talks to her, and it's mentioned about her sister, and he kind of picks up on the fact that she is sort of lying, and he says, you know, if you ever stop kidding yourself, here's my number, I can help you. So yeah, it's another interesting side where you sort of wonder if this character will come back into it as well. But yeah, the sort of awkward moment with Jules is what leads to the end of the episode, and Rule's breakdown really, because you know she's been sort of on the verge of relapsing and having a breakdown throughout. She's obviously stressed by the whole Jules thing and trying to text her, trying to get hold of her. And so after their sort of moment, she goes looking for drugs. She at obviously her friend, the drug dealer, his name's Fex, something like that. And she, you know, knocks on his door asking for, and he says, you know, I can't let you in. I can't help you. Sorry. And that's when things really get out of hand, where she starts slamming on the door, banging on the door, screaming for him to let her in. And there is something that comes out of it, a key sort of bit of information, where it's actually revealed it is him who got her hooked on drugs in the first place, and that's how she ended up in rehab. And obviously she's calling him out on the fact that he's you know, he does sell drugs to teenagers, and yet now he's getting all morally sort of superior about her. And it comes out, as I said, then he got her hooked in the first place. And she's just screaming, and it's a great performance again from Sedana, because she's just so unhinged, and there's so much rage, and it's sort of the performance you don't normally see from her. And yeah, it's a fantastic ending. It does really bring the episode back around, and it's a really powerful, unnerving sort of moment, because she's just banging on the door for ages, and you can see, you know, her friend, how Fix feels badly about the whole thing, and how it sort of makes sense. Then he doesn't want to give her drugs anymore based on what happened in the past. So yeah, it's a great way to end the episode. So I think I mean, Jules basically is exchanging pictures with Nate online, so he obviously sent her the dick picture, and there's sort of a funny little montage where Rule is like teaching a lesson on like kind of, you know, unsolicited and solicited dicks, and the difference between them, and it's like a fantasy sort of sequence, and it's this whole thing, this whole absurdist thing about people exaggerating the size of their genitalia online, which is kind of what she's saying to Jules, and it's probably, you know, he's enlarged it somehow, or it's exaggerated. It might not even be his, but you know, Jules kind of gets her to take it like a nude picture of her to sort of send back to him, and I think that's probably part of the breaking point for Rule. And the only other small thing is we get a little bit more with Christian and with Cassie, and so they're continuing to go out. And there's kind of this, again, some of this I think is a little bit on the heavy-handed side. So her mother is clearly a drunk, and the girls are in the bedroom, and her mother just warns her, not to do anything with Christian. And again, it's playing that sort of neglectful sort of parents, rich, drunk parent sort of angle, which is a little bit cliched. I think they could put a bit more thought into characters like that. But anyway, they go off to this party, and there's like it's this very loud, a lot of noise, hyper masculine sort of party where there's this drinking sort of game. And again, I guess it's to do with Christian being forced to be this super masculine guy to really, by winning this contest, it makes him sort of a real man in a way, whereas in reality he's a lot more sensitive, a lot more calm than that. But again, it's this sort of angle where he's impressing Cassie, and then they go and have sex in the bathroom, and there's not a lot to them in this episode really, but there you have it. That's episode 3, the Euphoria Made You Look. So again, some interesting stuff with Kat, and certainly a powerful ending overall the weakest episode for me so far, but still some good stuff that's keeping me watching. So yeah, do let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I will just say then next week's episode will be a bit late because I'm going to be away at Fright Fest, so it might be a few days late next week, but I will have it up as soon as possible. So yeah, let me know your thoughts on the latest Euphoria episode and how you think things are going in the show overall. Have a good night. Speak soon. Goodbye.